Welcome to Rubber Duck Engineering. Tonight we're going to talk about pathfinding, hopefully in Godot, where we're going to, learn how to path things. Hi, Adam.
Hi, Eric. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Yourself? Hopefully it's been a nice new year for you.
Yeah, it's been good so far. The rain is came and cleaned everything in my backyard. It's actually quite nice out there now.
Nice. Well, I was just out walking, and it seems like it's going to rain again, so you might get a little cleaner yet. So as I said in the intro, tonight we're going to play with Godot because I was playing with Godot over the weekend. You and I were brainstorming last week before the show about what we should do. And one of the things that came up was we should make a New Year's ball in Godot. And my retort to that was that I didn't want to do that because I didn't think our Godot or Unity skills were good enough. And that answer bothered me. And so this weekend, I started playing with Godot again because I didn't want to have a tool I didn't know how to use. And ended up building some silliness in it, but I kind of got stuck on the pathfinding. And so I figured maybe we could move a little further with that tonight.
Do you want to show us your silliness and see what you built?
It's maybe HAL 9000. Happy New Year.
Hey.
With the emoji, no less.
A Happy New Year to you, too. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I would. So let me turn on the various machines. Oh, we got to show folks. We got some awesome fan art sent our way this week. This was by Nate. Is that right?
Yeah, Nate. Nate, thank you so much for drawing this picture.
Yeah, this is great. This is now my background art. And I have Godot open here. And so I can show you this silly program that I wrote this weekend. So many years ago, I was looking for something to do. And you've seen in previous episodes how I like systems with emergent behavior.
Hi, Seth. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Seth. Systems with emergent behavior. And so I built one many years ago. I played a game called League of Legends, which is a MOBA, they call it.
A MOBA? Massively online
battle arena.
Battle arena.
Online battle arena. Something like that.
All right, right
on. There we go. Oh, come on. Why is it not? We didn't try to see if this thing would still run.
So you try to sort of create the core mechanic of League of Legends here in this game.
Well,
as I understand
this actually has very little to do with League. It's more that I was searching after that emergent behavior, and League has this interesting emergent behavior where these things, these little. I think Godot is having trouble with my screen size because it totally worked at a bigger size. I might have to change the project's screen size to something smaller. Anyways, yeah, so it has this emergent behavior where there's these little AIs that battle it out for you. And then they batch up and they become these giant mobs. And they sort of come back and forth across the map. And I think that's really cool, that little emergent behavior. And it's like a core important part of the game. As you can see.
Yeah, so I don't know if you saw before, but there were these two sort of buildings on either side of the map, which were the spawners. And so the monsters get spawned there and they sort of walk towards each other and then they sort of fight. And then on one side will just sort of by randomness gather more monsters and overpower the other side and sort of slowly beat them back to their side of the board and then eventually destroy the buildings over there.
And if you leave the monsters just doing their thing, they will eventually win. So what is a standard height? 640 by 480, right?
Sure. That's a good size. Good size.
I'm just trying to see if I can get a size that this may not actually be the problem, but Godot works totally fine when I don't have my screen super scaled up for broadcasting. And maybe that is what has made it sad about life. Okay, or not. Well, let's try quitting Godot and see if we can bring it back to life here. We're doing it live, folks.
That's how you know the show is real. Anyway, the problem that he was having is that the monsters sort of bunch up. So only the first couple can actually aim and hit each other, and the other ones just sort of stand behind each other, looking a little bit silly. And so we were thinking that with better logic for how the monsters can move around the map, they could be smart enough to move out of the way of the ones that are behind could notice that they're blocked and they could path around to the edge. There you go.
So it turns out it was there. It just was way off screen. And Godot, I guess,
moved it. Yeah, see, okay, there you go. So
I can turn the pixels way up again. But so here we have, this is where the little spawner thing, this is a turret that, again, these things will like bunch up and slam against. And in League, they're called minions, and MOBA, and there's or Dota. There's a whole bunch of these things. I haven't played one in like half a decade or more, but so maybe they were all completely changed. But you see the minions bunch up because they do very local pathing, which is not how these games actually work. If you play one of these games,
you can see sort of like wiggling there at the back, like it wants to move forward, but it can't.
Because they're just looking, just way too small. They're looking one frame ahead for how far they can move, and they need to be moving along a path. So the way that these games actually work is these things chase, or they like go to a point. And so if I go back to the running thing, you'll see if I show them, I have waypoints. So the minions are trying to get to this waypoint within some radius.
On the far side, right? That's the waypoint for the ones on the left.
No, for both, they both work off the same set of waypoints. It's just
they go first to there and then to there.
Yeah, this is actually just a couple hours of programming. This is pretty straightforward. But yeah, I took some example and I tore it apart because I couldn't get the lighting and camera to work by myself. Took some example, tore it apart, added these waypoints, added the ability to spawn these little minion things. I call them minions. They're just this. This is the debug radius. It's just showing where they can see.
Do the minions have code? Can we see the code for the minions?
Minion code is right here. I gotta click over here. Oh my god! Can everybody read?
The text seems legible to me. The window's a little bit small.
But... I'm still relatively new to Godot. I don't know how to hide all these things.
That's fine. This is very sensible.
So let's see. What does the minion do? It has a team, red versus blue. It's either attacking or marching, and like in the games, they have much more complicated state machines. It can see up to 10 units away. It has a collision radius of 2. I'm doing collision by myself, and this is the like debug circle that it's showing. I could make those hide. This is 1 second. It waits between attacks, and it moves 5 units a second. And this is how much damage it does per missile, and this is how much health it has. And then this is its targeting, or like targeting value. So in Godot, this is a class. This minion is a class, and so this is almost as though we're in a class block. It took me a little while to get used to that. You can actually put inner classes inside classes in Godot. So we load the missile scene, keep track of how long until the last attack. I already went through all that. So here's when you set the team, we change our material. When we're ready, we just set up our debug radius to be the right size. When we're supposed to fire at something, we have our target. We make a clone of our missile. We add it to ourselves. We set its global transform to be our global transform. This line isn't necessary. It was copied from some other example. Set its damage and where it's going. This is which waypoint we're going. And as I said, they use the same waypoints. They just go through them differently. That's right. The blue team goes through them forward, and the red team walks through them backwards. Mm-hmm. This is my attempt at doing the like avoiding. This is the most code. It obviously isn't working well enough because it doesn't look far enough ahead. But given a location and a bunch of other NPCs around me, I'll figure out what is the closest I am to any one of them. It's like, so there's a whole bunch of them. Basically I'm checking to see if I'm going to collide with any of them given that location. And here's my attempt to, given a forward plan of movement for one frame again, how can I adjust that to not hit something?
And so your idea is you want to plan further ahead using some sort of navigation data structure to sort of find a more, you might have to go out of your way to come back.
I watched a YouTube video of like one of these games, modern, just to see what the minions do. The minions clearly have much more advanced planning, and I'm certain that the minions they look like they're making like an A-star path, like because they're pathing around other minions and stuff. So the bunching is happening because this minion back here in the back doesn't. It's waiting to walk. Right? It doesn't know that it should be fighting. So I can't like say, you can see they're starting to bunch up. And if these were acting correctly in one of these games, they'd make this big crescent. And then they just like
move out from behind to the sides because they would construct more elaborate paths to go to the next waypoint.
Correct. So this one who's stuck would say, hey, A-star or whatever pathing algorithm it's using, path me to the next waypoint. And the one in the middle.
The reason they stay apart from each other is because they prioritize firing their missile over marching.
Correct.
I mean, why don't they just march to the next waypoint?
As soon as they have a target, that's in this code. We hadn't quite gotten there yet. So here's the process. So this is the callback. This is the per frame callback that Godot gives you. Mm-hmm. So first we validate our target, make sure it's not been deleted because we have a weak ref to it. And then we compute what mode we're in. Basically, it's checking to see whether the target is null or not. Are we in fighting mode or walking mode?
Gotcha.
And if we're in walking mode, we try and walk. And if we're fighting mode, we just either stand there and wait for our attack cooldown to be up. And yeah. And that's more or less how they function in the real world. It's just they have, in these games, it's just the back ones have smarter pathing so they don't get stuck behind each other.
Okay. So do you want to dive into trying to do some more elaborate pathing?
Yeah, I thought it would be interesting to try pathfinding either in Godot or somewhere else with this group because I think pathfinding is actually relatively interesting. One of my frustrations with Godot in particular is the pathfinding API maybe is a little too general and seems sort of too harder to use than was necessary.
You're talking particularly the A-star class.
They do have A-star built in. And I sort of did a little bit of reading online about how you might approach a problem like this. But for something simple and flat like this, you just checkerboard the whole thing into basically pixels as though it was just a texture or an image. And then you solve A-star on just a normal checkerboard grid. That would be a very simple way to do that. So you divide this into like 100 by 100 grid or something like that, where the grid points were about the size, say, of your things.
Should we just try that? Like, is there a place in Godot where for a given frame we could compute this grid, and then we could give it to each minion to then select a path from?
Yep. So we could very straightforward do that. I think it will be a lot of code, in part because the A-star algorithm is not here. Have a grid, solve on the grid that the Godot gives you. Godot instead makes you. It doesn't have a callback-based algorithm, which is the Dart one that actually Seth Ladd originally wrote, and I have done some maintaining of since. It rather has an imperative one where you make calls into it, you upload data into its stateful system, and so we're going to do a lot of typing to do a lot of uploads, right? Because for each one of the squares, you're going to have to call 8 edge uploads, right, for the 8 adjacent squares. But
okay. Do you want to start there, or do you want to start somewhere else?
I don't have a better place to start. So, okay. I mean, there are other options. So, like, there's a tile map for Godot. Some of this is my limited Godot knowledge. I suspect someone listening to this is like, oh, that's the way you do it in Godot. But there's also a tile map for Godot, which is designed for 2D. And Godot will do both 2D and 3D. And you can put 3D and 2D and vice versa.
Yeah, it seems like there should be something built on top of this basic A-star algorithm where they give you the grid and you fill in the grid, and then it tells you, it internally would use A-star to figure things out.
Mm-hmm. I see. There was that I had it full screen. Yeah, so I think I agree that should exist, and maybe it does. Like navigation 2D
Yeah.
might do it.
Should we try it?
Um,
Could we just add a
Sure.
polygon for each of... So I was looking at the documentation for navigation 2D. Yeah.
Okay.
So it looks like you add polygons to it. So we could add like just a square or whatever shape the minions are for each of the minions. And I don't know if you can exclude those polygons. It's like
Let's see.
obstacles.
Nav poly add navigation polygon owner. Okay.
Like when you add, does that mean this is included in a traversable region, or does this mean this is excluded?
I don't know.
Oh, what does nav poly remove? Oh, I see. That removes that polygon.
Okay, navigation polygon. Okay. Add outline. Make polygons from outlines. Okay. See, I think you're right that these are meant to be more sort of stateful. You're supposed to sort of keep these up.
Yeah, like if you had a polygon associated with each of the mobs, then you could just move it to where that mob was for that frame. Because I imagine there's a bunch of, like, these algorithms have a bunch of state that they maintain. And so having you keep the state in the object is probably helpful for efficiency, I would imagine.
So I don't know. I presume that polygons are exclusions, but I don't know. Like they're non-traversable regions.
So earlier we found a demo of something that was using navigation 2D. Maybe can we switch over to the demo and try playing with it and see if we can get an intuitive feel for it?
Sure. So unless I launch a second copy of Godot, which I may be able to do, it's gonna quit out. Navigation. So yes, yeah, so this has a stateful. So this thing, if we run it, we will see, hey.
I see. So it looks like it's running inside of this region.
And if we look at what they did, they have a navigation 2D, and they set up a nav mesh where they, as far as I can tell, sort of manually drew these regions.
Are those white things movable? Like they sort of look like nubbies?
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. I have no idea what the green versus not. Maybe that's just the...
Can you add more meshes to this? Because I wonder, like there's this thing called like winding number, which when you're doing normal drawing creates, like if you were to draw inside of another thing, that because the winding number would then determine whether you're inside or outside of the shape.
It's a good question.
Oh, let's set that a comment.
To be fair, I was port from JavaScript. Yes.
I think it's got the A-star package in Dart.
Yes, I've actually gone back to it. I was hacking on it over Christmas break. I don't remember why, but I was. Convex polygon partition failed. I don't know what that means, but can I add more? Yes, I suspect I can.
Well, I wonder if we should just like simplify this to just a big circle and then see if we can exclude little regions of it to make obstacles.
Sure. Whoa. What did I do? Did I erase all the points? No. Whoa, what is that?
I think there's a picture. And
Here's
this is...
Okay, so I could hide those. Okay, so here's our nav mesh. Yeah, I think that your instincts are correct, that there's like a winding rule. So that looks like an open region that I made. And maybe if I did it, like the green looks traversable.
Right. And I just wonder what happens if you draw like a triangle inside of that. Yeah, it creates a hole. So I suspect it's just using the winding number to determine traversability. So I think if we made like a big rectangle, that was the whole board, and then we made little squares for each of the minions, and then use that as our 2D nav, our navigation 2D, then we would be able to find paths that avoided the minions.
Okay. Oh, we can certainly try it. Do you want to try the fresh project or in the original project?
Well, can we just try it in here? Like, can we just edit this thing and make that as an experiment? Like, I kind of want to get rid of the nav mesh because I want to imperatively build up the polygons.
Okay. So you might want the nav mesh to be there. You just imperatively build it.
Okay. But you don't want to just call nav poly add directly on the navigation 2D?
What is this thing? It is a navigation polygon instance.
Oh, I see. By default, these are automatically collected from child navigation polygon instance nodes, but they can also be added on the fly with nav poly add. So maybe we should have the basic board be the navigation mesh instance, and then the dynamic ones that represent the mobs be added programmatically.
All right, so I'm going to delete this. I'm going to make a new one, which is Polygon navigation polygon instance. Okay, and now we're going to make this no polygon resource on this node. Create and assign one. Sure. I don't know what a nav. Okay, not my best. So that's all green. I have no idea what that is, but all right. So say.
I think you hid the characters, so we can't see them anymore.
Okay.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, it doesn't want to enter the triangle in the middle because it's excluded.
Good. Okay. Okay. So that's working. And now the question is, like, could we add other dots?
Let's try it.
We could duplicate this character and add a script.
Can we just teach the character to wander around randomly or something?
Well, we could just duplicate this character, right? So and call it a mob, right? And this may be getting beyond what we need to do. But like we could just make this thing.
Oh, it could like register its own location with the navigation 2D.
Sure, seems like a reasonable thing. So every time on process, we want to like, well, on ready, make ourselves a. We're going to do navigation 2D. Okay, so that's like.
Well, this like finds it in the project.
Just like find it relative to this node, right? So in this navigation 2D, you said you want to add poly or something?
Yeah, nav poly add.
So this is a navigation 2D. Nav. Okay. I mean, that should be.
Right. So when we oh, by the way, there's also a nav poly set transform, which I imagine is what we're supposed to use. So this will return you an ID that we can remember, and then in our process, we can update the transform.
Okay, so this is var nav ID, right? And this is nav ID equals. Right. Probably not quite right because this is order dependent as to what loads first, but I think this might work.
Oh, we need to pass something to nav poly add. We have to pass in a navigation polygon.
I think that should find it. Node found. Yeah, this is working. You were saying, I'm sorry?
Oh, we have to pass in a navigation polygon and a transform.
I need a navigation polygon, and I have to make one of those.
It's possible we could just keep one with the character, because it's just going to be the geometry of the character, basically.
Right. Right. Is there anything special for that? Should I make it in the editor?
Well, yeah, sure.
Okay, just do this again. As a sub of mob.
Imagine you want to draw it around the origin.
Yeah. It's also a little weird that I put this in the same scene. So I think the typical way you do these things is like to make each one of these would like the character would be its own scene, and then you would instance it in here. But okay. All right, going back to our script. You think we can just create one of these? Nav polygon.
Oh yeah, you say nav polygon.new, and then you can say add outline.
Something like this.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try it. Okay. We're doing it live. Okay, navigation polygon new 0, 50, 50. That could be
How
really
big is our world? Like, is 50 a lot or a little?
Yeah, I have no idea. Let's see. Looks like this is 700. So yeah, that doesn't look too bad.
Okay.
Okay. Make polygon from outlines. And then navigation polygon instance.
I think we just want to add the polygon directly. We don't need to do that part of it.
I don't have to instance it. Okay. And you said nav poly add is polygon and then what?
You're going to need a transform, which is a transform 2D. So I think you just start with the identity transform probably.
It seems still sad somehow. Transform 2D.
Yep. I think it's just dot identity.
That's the thing. 2D. Oh, interesting. Okay. Sold. No idea what this is going to do. Whoa. Hold on.
Oh, maybe you should set the transform to match the character. Like, does the sprite itself have a transform? Because right now you're able to walk through the mob.
Well, it's not clear whether I'm walking through the mob at all. Like this outline, I'd love to draw this outline. I don't know how to do that though. But yes, we trivially could do that, right? So said there's a way to like update. Interesting, this is actually working.
Yeah, it looks like the way you update it is your nav mesh has a nav poly set transform on it, where you pass in the ID in your new transform.
Set transform.
Yep, you pass in the ID.
Nav ID, and then you like transform. I think it's just like the transform on us.
Okay. Still looked like it was walking through the mob.
Well, but we don't know. Is it avoiding?
Yeah, I agree. It would be nice to draw this.
I don't know how to draw that.
Why don't you make the that thing much bigger? Like change it to 500 instead of 50.
Okay. And what is this? It's starting at 0, 50, 50, 50. Triangle.
Like, it's well, it starts at 0, 0, right? So I think this is just a square.
Oh, does it start at 0, 0? Oh, you're right. I see. It's a square. All right, it's a big square. Yeah, I don't think this is working.
So another possibility is when we drew the first nav mesh, we made one polygon that had multiple paths in it. And that may be why we're like, imagine you were drawing this with like a canvas drawing function, right? We sort of drew this complicated polygon that had a hole in it, and then we drew this other polygon that was like a square.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I can search for like Godot navigation 2D obstacle.
Yeah, it's like dynamic obstacles. This would be nice if we see. This is where I was getting to, and so where I'd sort of stopped with this in my own explorations is not that this is necessarily hard. It just seems like the APIs that are provided. Like I feel like we developers are making this harder than it needs to be on ourselves.
I feel like this is a common thing in Godot. Like I just looked this up, and everyone is telling me that this is all much better in Godot 4.
Great. Well,
but we don't have Godot 4 quite yet.
All right, so there should be no obstacles now. We should just be able to walk around the entire. Yeah, so our thing is not.
I'm now reading a issue in the Godot engine GitHub on this question.
I really admire Godot, like what they're trying to do, and they've clearly made a lot of progress.
This was implemented in pull request 34776. But this is a thing that only exists in Godot 4.
Well, that does not help me.
It's a thing called navigation server.
Argument delta is never used. Oh, yeah.
The navigation server. Navigation server is a Godot 4 thing.
Anyways, what we're trying to do is in principle simple.
Yeah, it looks like in the Godot 4, there's a thing called navigation obstacle, which looks like the exact thing that you want.
Okay.
And it can work in 3D and in 2D.
Where I had ended up in my own thinking on this is that I'm probably just going to write A star myself. Because I looked at, there is a 2D A star 2D. A star and A star 2D are the same. This one's like it's like just slightly different wrappers around their A star. But it's this upload based where you're supposed to like add all your points and then connect them. But I think what
you then create the whole grid, and for each point of the grid, connect it to the 8, 7, and 8 next to it.
And I think you could do that, but I also think you could just type in like Godot's only like, or not Godot, A star's only like 80 lines of code. At least it's 80 lines of pseudocode on Wikipedia, and I've worked with it in Dart enough to know that it's not too crazy complicated. Where I stopped there was that I didn't want to write it in Godot script because Godot script is duck typed, and I've written in typed languages long enough that I need the types.
So is there a way in Godot to get to a type language? Like
you can. It'll do C#. I just hadn't crossed that bridge yet. In fact, the version of Godot that I have installed has the C# bindings on it. That's why it's the 3.2 or 4.2.stable.mono because it has mono built in.
Oh, mono is there a C# engine?
Mm-hmm. And I even found a really nice A star on GitHub, but I didn't know how to integrate another C# project into this C# project. So, and this also sort of relates to another opinion that I formed about Godot now that I've played with it for a number of hours this weekend, is that it tries to do a lot of things, and it's really remarkable. Like, it has 1,500 developers, which is more.
That's amazing. That's like, just getting 1,500 developers to all push in the same direction is just a monumental feat.
Well, it's 1,500 contributors, right? So that's like of all time, right? People who have contributed ever on GitHub. But I don't know how many are actually active in the core team, but it's a big project. But they are trying to do a bajillion things. As you see, this is itself a Godot program. The editor is a Godot program. So this editor is actually an okay editor. It doesn't have quite all the same key bindings that you would expect. But again, they had to build a game engine to build an editor, which like puts a whole different set of constraints on your game engine than like running fast on iPhone does. So anyways, it tries to do a lot of things. I'm not entirely sure where we should take it from here. I feel like we have like an hour's work and like half an hour left.
Yeah, I'm not sure we want to dive into creating our own A star implementation in sort of the back half of the show.
Can we do something else in our little project? Or I could show you another project in Godot.
Yeah, do you have another project to show us?
I don't know if I have, but I can show you another, like a demo. Let's see. There was one.
This is a demo that was sort of inspirational for you in creating the one with the mobs.
So the one that so this I think has some pathfinding in it.
Whoa, this is like a dungeon kind of game here.
So this is just isometric, or this is just layered 2D. Which is kind of cool. Godot, I think, started as a 2D engine and it's supposedly really pretty good at that. Anyways, that's the demo, but it's just showing you, and these are tile maps, and that's how they do the navigation here. These must have.
So when you say tile map, can you show us what that is? I'm not familiar with that term.
It's just a Godot class called tile map. I suspect that the tiles, like, I'm actually not sure how they're doing.
Oh, I see. Each part of the floor has this like a square piece that then is replicated many times.
I think it's more that so each one is its own separate tile. And then I think this tile map being on top of it, that's how they do the sort of like layering. Mm-hmm. And this one must be non-traversable, or maybe like, how do they get the traversability?
Maybe it's has a collider and you bump into it and you can't go through it.
But like, where is that set?
I would look over here on the inspector for the walls.
What's this scene? I see.
Oh, yeah, look, it's got a collision poly. The wall, you see the in the tree on the left, there's a wall, and below it has a collision polygon.
I see. So in this thing, I see it's getting from this tile set. This
is another way of doing what you were doing. The thing is because you're not using the physics for your mobs,
sure,
you're not getting a lot of sort of the emergent properties that you get. I don't know if it would help you particularly with the pathing, but it would help you with the collisions that you're computing yourself.
I see. So this is a scene that they built in order to edit the tile set.
We saw this remember we looked at that sort of adventure style game that was a huge game project, and they had tons of scenes that just contained objects that would then get instanced into other scenes. Seems to be a very common pattern in game development.
Yeah, they do encourage you to, particularly in Godot, to make just a bajillion scenes, and then you instance them into others. Although what's interesting here is that this scene is never instanced into the dungeon scene.
It just exists to be referenced by the tile set.
It exists, I think, to like provide you a way to edit the tile set.
So can you look at one of those wall objects in here? I notice it has a red thing at the bottom. Is that that's its like physics representation?
I don't actually know. Yeah, it's this
Yeah.
collision polygon.
I see, because the physics is being done in 2D, but the graphics have a little bit of it, or maybe just a 3D aspect to them. Like, can you rotate the
they're
camera?
not 3D at all. This is all a 2D game, just with layers.
I see. It's just drawn. It's just like a stamp, basically.
These are all just normal 2D tiles. What makes it look 3D is that the walls tile is drawn on top of the floors tile.
I see.
Right. If I swap these in draw order, oops.
Aha.
Right.
The illusion is broken.
Yes. Interesting that the troll is a subset of the walls. That's interesting. Anyways, that was one of the other things that I realized. So part of the reason why I was futzing around that I do enjoy the emergent behavior, but I also just enjoy trying to implement something that I've seen before. So if I
also, it gives you a fixed target to aim for, so you're not contorting yourself based on what the tool makes easy to do. It's like if you have an idea of what you want to do.
Well, it's just interesting to like learn how these things work. Like this is a 2D game, it turns out. I hadn't really thought that through, but it's entirely a 2D game, just represented in 3D. And so what I suspect they actually do is they write all the very simple 2D logic and they run it in a little engine that's probably portable C# or I don't know what the system is written in. So they can run the whole separate 2D engine separately on the server as well.
Do you remember we did the ecology simulation? We had a wander state for the creatures.
Mm-hmm. I wonder
if you get a similar outcome that you're looking for here if we added a wander state for the mob. So when the mob like can't shoot at anything and is frustrated that it can't walk, if it just wanders around for a little while.
That's not a bad idea and probably relatively straightforward to do. I hadn't thought about that. So, okay, so minion. And this is something we could do in 10 minutes. Okay, right. So we had wandering. And then we do like var time remaining wandering. Var wander time. I don't know where the thing should be. So we'll have it wander for 2 seconds. If it ever gets lost. And then we will go down to our state thing. Compute mode. So else if time remaining wandering greater than 0. Time remaining. Oh, that's right. It's elif.
Okay. It's like Python-y.
It's very Python-y. Minus equals delta. We don't have delta in this, but we can. It doesn't give you any types, so you just it's like Python.
You come from type down. It's okay. Some people don't come from type down,
but I wrote years and years of Python, and the only way you survive Python is with unit tests. And
unit tests with 100% line coverage. Because any line that isn't executed in your unit test will have a type error.
Python is a wonderful, beautiful language, but you need 100% unit test coverage, or something pretty darn close. And I would think that would be particularly true for games. I'm sorry, why do I have... Oh, I have a separate mode versus a state? What do I ever use state for?
It was a dream. It was dead
It was a
code.
dream.
This is the one thing that like the Rust compiler always gets after me about is like, oh, you have some dead code. It's like, I know, dude. I was just typing in the code so I could use it.
Okay, so wandering. Should we pick a direction to wander in?
Maybe when you enter wandering mode, you should pick a target to wander towards, like a coordinate to wander towards.
Yeah, I think that so that's basically chasing or whatever. That's yeah. I mean, you're basically pathfinding without. But yeah, you should do like a second of walking in a direction that doesn't involve you slamming into things.
Yeah.
Sure. I don't know. We need to make this separate anyways then, but sure. This is like wandering. Walk to or wander. I don't know if it's actually ended wandering, but sure. Okay. And then when do we get into this state? We get into this state when we're like, so this is the way that we like get around things is that we like pick a direction. So what the way that the current code that I have, and remember it's only looking a frame in advance. It tries to go forward. If it can't, it then picks an angle to the side.
I think just skip all that. Like if it can't, then just wander.
Just wander. Just go into wander mode.
Yeah. But pick a random direction to head towards and wander there.
I see. So like some of the time it'll be stuck.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
A very simple.
It's a mindless minion. That's what it does.
Okay, toggle comment. So we do mode. I think it was mode, right? Oh, no, it was like remaining wander time. Remaining time wandering equals
wander time or whatever. You had a concept for this.
Time. And then you said we pick an angle here?
Yeah. Or pick a vector. I think you should just turn towards a random angle, and then in wandering, you just walk in that direction.
Okay. So target would be vector dot forward. Vector 3D dot forward. Is that wrong? Help me, Godot. Help me.
You just pick a random angle and turn towards it. Maybe that's the easiest thing.
I don't know how to pick a random angle. That's my problem in life.
We'll just pick a random number between 0 and pi or something.
I don't know how to do that. It's randomized. That doesn't help me. So like a math random number generator.
Rand F.
Okay. Rand F.
That generates a random float between 0 and 1.
Okay. So rand F
times pi.
Times, you need 2 pi?
Oh, if you really want to spin it all the way around, sure.
Well, won't you otherwise only ever go up?
Okay, that's great.
And we could also do pi minus, like we could always go backwards. Some, but whatever.
It's totally random. It's good.
All right. And now we need to figure out how do I do forward? It's like vector 3 forward.
Forward in all caps. Yep.
Forward. And then I need to like do rotated around vector 3 dot up. Okay, so this is like random angle.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is now vector 3 dot up, random angle.
I think the opposite of that.
Okay. So I think this might actually work because every time I run into something now, but what's it going to do in wandering? We need to actually implement wander, and wander's just going to go forward.
You don't want to look at. Look at is giving you a target in 3 dimensions. You just want to rotate.
Okay.
Yeah. The axis is vector 3 up.
Oh, just rotate, take a, yeah, fine. Okay.
Okay.
Reasonable. All right, and then wander is just going to go straight if it can.
Yep.
Why is this an avoid nearby mobs? I guess that's right. So is wander just it's like it's walk just, minus the waypoint?
Yeah, I think it's walk minus the waypoint.
Walk, ignoring, or walk.
This is wander, right? Yeah.
I was going to try and share code here.
But I think you just plan movement offset if offset global translate by offset. Because you already did the look at, essentially.
I see.
You don't need the distance to target thing.
Well, what happens if I wander past a waypoint? I guess I'll later deal with it.
You'll once you're done wandering, you'll reassess your priorities in life.
Pick up the pieces.
You'll pick up the pieces.
Okay. I also need to make sure that when I'm wandering, I'm doing my time remaining wandering. Great. And then when I'm done,
that feels weird to do in compute mode. I feel like we should do that in the wander function. Right? Computing mode seems like it should be just a pure function.
Sure. I agree with your assessment. How do we do? Used argument delta. I don't know why it was never.
But now we probably call it too many arguments.
I see, because it didn't need that. Okay. Used argument from hit. Oh, fine. Yeah, whatever. I'm not. Green. Why the insert key exists on keyboards, you never know.
Just to overwrite mode?
Yeah, just to, rotate.
Okay.
Is this a 2D thing? What is this? Rotate?
Class spatial, right? You're spatial?
Yeah, rotate.
Vector 3 axis, float angle. Argument 2 from float. Yeah, go back. Argument 2 is supposed to be an angle. That's not an angle. That's a vector. Yeah, you don't need that. You just need the angle.
Sold. Did it like go off the screen again?
At least you know where to find it. You just have to change the geometry of your entire screen to go find it.
Well, like, where is this? Like, this is like a missing function in Windows. Like, how do I move this?
I don't know. This is totally a thing in Windows. Oh, move. There's a move function. That was it. That was it. You had it.
I had it maximized.
If you maximize it, it'll come back on screen for you.
What did the move function do? We're learning the Windows here, everyone. Move?
Just maximize it. That's a great hack.
Okay, great. Maximize. All right,
oh, they're wandering around. Look at them.
Whoa.
They're going to walk off the map.
But why are they wandering? They should only be wandering when they have a collision. Oh, because they hit the tower?
It's doing something different. Like it's
yeah, we
look, it's forming a line. I think your wander time is just too long.
Yeah, I agree. The wander time is definitely too long. Wander time. What a great way to have solved our pathfinding problems.
So does this hot reload? Like it has your new code?
Sort of.
Look, they're forming a line.
It's working. Wild that they're all like. So that one still did 2 seconds.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi.
But I mean, some of this is better. Let's see if we restart it, and then we go to our hack here. Oh, there's like a gather all win. Oh no, that's a close all windows.
Nice.
All right, so that's working. Why are they shooting from so far away at each other?
I mean, they're shooting at their maximum range, right?
Yeah, something's wrong, but whatever. I'll fix it later. I mean, it's definitely
it's working. They're not bunching up behind each other. Now I'm just gonna add some like wolves and what else do we have in our ecology simulation?
So other things that are interesting in talking about emergent behavior of these things is that there are different types of them. Some of them are like melee minions, and some of them are like the ranged, and some of them are like cannons. And there's behaviors, but no, so it's doing what it wasn't able to do before, right? You could only ever basically were fighting 4 minutes at a time.
Yeah, it's created the arc, right? The arc is what I'm.
Oh, I love that it squeezed one out, and so it went on a wander. So this is another thing that they do in the game with their smarter minion logic, is that it doesn't try to collapse down to a point quite as much as these do.
What do you mean by collapse down to a point?
The minions seem to like prefer to just go forward rather than, oh, we better, come back into the middle of the lane as fast as possible.
I see. Because right now they're all aiming for the waypoint as opposed to aiming to
like oh my goodness, gotta get to that waypoint.
That's like the Boyds. Like that's where we did the Boyd project.
They might have some Boyd behavior of like, I'm gonna avoid my
align my angle with my peers so we all go forward together.
Yeah, I would not at all be surprised if there's something like that.
Do we just do the same project over and over again on this? Like, are we gonna go avoid Boyds again? Oh, the blue minions have really optimized their geometry now.
Well, so this is yeah. So maybe it's like a half second. Is all.
I suspect if we, instead of having a totally random wanderer direction, if we like preferentially went like 90 degrees out one way and 90 degrees out the other way, so they would go to side.
Well, the problem is you get slightly stuck in between the pinballs.
Oh, I see.
And that 90 degrees doesn't work. But the thing will re-wander every time it runs into something. It sets a new angle.
I mean, obviously, pathing would be better because then it would like actually figure out what was where to go. So it's just, but it doesn't take much to create the arc. It's interesting.
And the arc is what's powerful because then you.
It's like a lens. Like it's like collecting all of their missiles.
Well, if our minions weren't quite so stochastic, you would see this behavior of once you get like a couple more on one side, they just start mowing everything down because the moment it comes into range, it gets hit by like 8 things before it gets off one shot.
Mm-hmm. So could they ever organize themselves again?
If they could ever organize themselves. So. I think we're basically at time.
This is fun.
Yeah, it was different, an exploration. I don't know that we showed Seth's comment. He was saying that his involvement in A-Star was a port, but it works. That was very early in the dawn of Dart. Seth was there before all the rest of us. Any pizza news for the new year? We haven't talked about pizza in eons.
Oh, I tried mixing some salsa into the pizza sauce.
Salsa?
Yeah, it was amazing.
I don't know if
it became spicy.
I don't know if I told you about my vice that I discovered in early December as a device of gaining weight before the holiday season. I discovered drinking chocolate, that I could make my own drinking chocolate.
That sounds like a very dangerous discovery to have made.
It was a very dangerous discovery. I finally added up the calories of this thing a couple days ago, and just learned that one of these things was about 750 calories.
Wow, that's like a whole meal.
Yeah, more than most of my meals. So I did manage to pregame the holiday season, but now I think I'm past my drinking chocolate phase. But it was amazing. And if you ever need drinking chocolate, I can help. So
recipe will be in the show notes. I don't even know how to make show notes. That's how professional a web show this is.
So I don't know what we're gonna do in the new year. It's a new year, lots of fun stuff. But next week I'm sure we'll do more fun, maybe some more 3D. Maybe we'll learn how to 3D more before we do that.
Yeah, if you folks have things you would like to see us do, just tweet at us and we can talk about it and figure out what we're gonna do next.
Yeah, I mean, we have a list about a mile long. We just got to pick one. But love suggestions or more art.
The bar has been raised. The gauntlet has been thrown down in the art department.
Yes. Anyways, fantastic to see you all. Fantastic to see you, Dr. Barth, and I'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you all next week.